Life is changing, and so are we. The question remains, what would that change look like for you? Life can be challenging, but there is a solution to every problem and an answer to every question. Regardless of where you are today, Jesus has taught us that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. Join us now with Regina Gilbinus, Layla Khan, and Sonia Williams co-hosting. Welcome to Lighten Up. It's time to talk. Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. I want to welcome you to an amazing show. If you've never watched this show, you are in for a blessing and a treat. It is going to empower you, inspire you, motivate you, transform you, get you up out of your seat of stagnation, procrastination, out of a place of isolation, come into a place of transformation to empower you to change a nation. And that's a whole lot of words. But you know what? There's a whole lot of God that has a great big vision for you. So I want to welcome those of you who have joined us for the first time and just embrace the opportunity to meet new friends. My co-host and I are glad to bring you another great show here on Lighten Up today. And I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Regina Gulbinas, Layla Khan, and Sonia Williams, and yours truly, Dr. Faye. Welcome to the social media encounter of Lighten Up. It's time to talk. Our conversation today is about you. It is about everyone. How many of us are in a place feeling anxiety, fear, worry, and maybe not every day in every situations, but certain things at certain times can cause a little bit of worry and concern. The Bible calls it anxiety. In matter of fact, Paul, in writing to the church at Philippi, said to be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving to let our requests be made known unto God. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, will keep our hearts and our minds in Christ Jesus. The Bible also says to cast our cares upon him because he cares for us. Those words sound important. They sound like they're really good, Regina, really good sound doctrine, Layla and Sonia. But in the everyday waking, walking, talking lives, many people find it difficult to approach situations and circumstances because of anxiety and because of carrying the cares of this life, and become timid and emotional when it comes time to deal with people about difficult topics, especially when those people can be quite difficult themselves. So our conversation today in Caring Enough to Confront, we're going to open up to have a conversation with you. And we invite you to share it with your friends across social media, because we are live today right here in social media, YouTube, Facebook, or wherever you're watching us from. Or maybe you're watching us later in a replay or on one of the networks with NCTN. So again, welcome, and to my co-host Regina Govinas, the business strategist, Layla Khan. You know what? And Regina stays in front of the camera, I think, more than I do. I mean, you always see her. She's out here. She's doing great things, and she has coaching programs and mentoring programs, and she'll talk to you more about that later, as I say, Layla Khan, our UK friend. Yeah, she's here, and she is the author of 101 plus ways to overcome life's biggest obstacles. Yeah, they're celebrating because I often miss the plus or something. I'm missing the title, but listen. She brings the book so that you don't miss it. Even if I miss it, you don't miss it. And she'll talk to us more about that. And my beauty and brain and health consultant, Sonia Williams, here from Las Vegas. So ladies, I know that we talk in the green room. We have so much fun in our green room before we go live here in social media and on the networks. And so we have a lot of conversations, and some that you get a little bit of out here after the green room effect. But ladies, how do people deal with this in this climate when you have difficult people, maybe an ex, or I don't know, just situations in your life, and you find it difficult to have conversations, to open up and talk?
Um, well, first of all, for me, the closer I drew to God, the
Mm,
more strength I got to confront the big things, right?
yeah.
But also because by nature I'm not very confrontational. I don't like chaos. I've always honestly been very selective on which battles I pick, personally.
Hmm.
But things that are directly impacting my life, yeah, it takes strength and courage. It really does. I'll tell you, I'm currently on this self-development kick because the more I put into that, the more I see my business grow exponentially. And the biggest confrontations I have to do right now with myself. So as you bring up the topic, confronting people and certain circumstances, I'm thinking, well, I'm in a season where I'm solely focused on heavily confronting very honestly my own self.
Mm.
Like, this is where you're falling short. This is not okay. This is where you made a mistake. And it's a little bit harsh, but that's how I deal with myself to make
Mm.
myself better. So confrontation with self, I think, is the hardest thing. At least for me, I know it has been. So that's my season currently.
That's an interesting point. Dealing with yourself being the most difficult person to deal with, and because we criticize ourselves more harshly usually than other people do. We don't like it from other people, but when we look in the mirror, and being a child of God, especially, we look in the mirror and we want to please our Father, number one.
Mm-hmm.
And we find it difficult to be happy with our own selves, then we're finding it difficult to move forward. So it does take self-assessment, self-analysis, and self-evaluation on a regular basis. And thank you, Regina, for bringing that into the picture here, personal and self-development. Layla is about to jump in. I can feel it.
Can you tell? No, I completely agree there as well. It always starts with, confronting yourself is really about looking within and looking at those parts of ourselves which we have maybe been conditioned or programmed to deny or to repress or to ignore or to push away. And it takes courage to sit with oneself and to say and to look at oneself and say, okay, well, I recognize this about myself, or I recognize that pattern or that behavior or that attitude about myself, which isn't divine, which isn't the best version of me or the highest version of myself. For myself growing up, I really took so much time to just sit and reflect and recognize who I was and how I was showing up. And it had an amazing ripple effect. So I love talking about the ripple effect, because everything that is external is a reflection of what's going on for us within. And so the more I was able to understand my inner world and do my inner like self-mastery, the more I was able to do that, the better I was able to actually confront others in my external world. And growing up, that didn't always come out in the nicest way. And I've got this fiery energy, and I'll just say it as it is. And I don't mean to be tactless, but sometimes it's come out like that. But I really learned over time that confrontation is just conversation, right? And it's just conversation, just to express how you feel. And sometimes when we're in that anger space, a confrontation feels like a confrontation. It doesn't feel like a conversation. Do you know what I mean? But when we learn to just kind of simmer down the anger and to come from a place of, I really just want to express how I feel and what I think, then that confrontation doesn't feel like a confrontation. It feels like a mature conversation where we're just communicating our feels and our thoughts and this, that, and the other. And so it takes skill. It definitely takes skill. And there are times and experiences and people that will trigger us, and, you know, we'll forget where we're at, and it's just like, oh, it just all comes out. But it's a conversation, you know, and I think there's a lot of women that will be watching us who may feel, you know, like, oh, I can't say how I feel because I'm scared of what the repercussions are going to be. And I love to just share that, you know, just reframe it from a confrontation into a conversation. So it's not scary. It's not something you have to avoid. And build your confidence and build your self-belief that your words have value, and your words are worthy of being spoken of, because God's guiding you on that.
I love that. That was a shift right there, wasn't it? Yeah. Instead of confrontation, you know, to conversation. Because when you said it, Layla, I'm sure Regina and Sonia may have thought this as well. When you said that, I thought, you know, when you say confront, it does hold a negative light. And it means, oh, somebody's angry. Someone's upset about something, you know, I'm going to confront him. And usually when people use the sentence with the word confront in it, it is from a place of anger, frustration, uneasiness, you know, it's not from a place of peace. Well, I need to confront Layla. Usually not that. It's like, no, I need to confront this issue in a very harsh way. And so whatever is within us is going to come out. The Bible says a soft answer turns away wrath. Yeah. We've all heard, you know, what is it? You win more bees with honey or whatever.
More bees with honey than vinegar.
Oh, okay. But then with the other thing. Yeah, you win more bees with honey than vinegar. So, and that's true. Sonia?
Well, I was just thinking through this whole course of conversation, it's, you know, Dr. Faye, you made reference to it before. We've heard you can't give away what you don't possess. You know, so it all goes back to personal development, whether we want to, sometimes confronting yourself, like you guys are saying, Regina and Layla already, and Dr. Faye, we don't sometimes want to admit it really starts with us, because it does truly. And once you develop yourself and you're stronger, you know, I'm thinking about the verse in the Bible says, you know, be strong and courageous. You know, be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid. God's going to be with you wherever you go. So a lot of time for me, the reason why I haven't confronted things, that timidity. Now, oh my gosh, what are they going to think? That self-talk, which goes back to personal development. Oh my gosh, what are they going to think? Are they going to like me after I say what I really feel? You know, but in all fairness, is it really fair to the other individual, that person or that group of people, that you don't want to share what you really feel, although you know you need to discuss it? I love the way, Layla, you just said that confrontation, you know, turn it into conversation. And I've realized that was just like an aha moment, what you just said, because it's like so true. There is no confrontation if you have conversation. And we are all, you know, some people say adulting here, right? We're going to have an adult conversation, but I even see it with certain people that I'm around a lot, is that there is no conversation. There never is anything. So we just let it go. So if you don't confront anything, let's stop complaining about things that don't change if you're not willing to confront it with even yourself.
Yeah. Very true.
That energy stays stuck, you know, like maybe we've all had that experience where you've wanted to say something to somebody, it's been on your mind, it's been on your heart, and you've not said anything, and maybe it's just dragged on for like not even a day, a week, a month, maybe even longer. I know in like with my ex-husband, like there were so many things that we did not talk about for ages, to the point where it turned into confrontation because we didn't have the conversation when it could have felt like a conversation. You know, because and by the time you get to that confrontation, that energy is already reflected from you to the other person. They're going to pick up on it, right? And so it comes down to, for me, it comes down to releasing energy. So I'm generally really good at just saying what I want to say and getting it out there and not keeping it in. There have been times where, you know, I've kept things in with really close people in my life, and it's just kind of ruined the relationship, you know, when all it would have taken is the courage just to say what needs to be said and to create that environment. But what about when others confront us?
Mm-hmm.
How do we deal with that? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not ready for that part of the conversation.
Right? Let's stay focused here.
Let's stay with this part right now because you're bringing out so many, but remind me, we will get back to that. But you brought out so much, Layla. Wow, so many huge pieces because I'm thinking about when we don't talk about what we need to talk about, just conversation. And I thought about this thing and how this has become the instrument by which we communicate with the world. Most people that I find are using it to break up, to say what they want to say, talk text. And so they find it easy to just, be mean and harsh in a text or in a message on Facebook or in social media because they don't have the courage. And I was really thinking about that, Sonia, when you brought that up. But that word courage, to speak up and to really open up about their true feelings, because we have been trained, indoctrinated, taught that our feelings should be kept inside. You don't want to hurt anybody else's feelings. So you keep all these things bottled up, and instead of dealing with them in conversation, like Layla was saying, what I was seeing with like a container, and you keep piling stuff up over the years and over time, and then it explodes in the middle of the judge in the courtroom in a divorce, or it explodes in a fight, or it explodes in all this anger that's bursting all over the place, this uncontrollable anger, when we could have sat down and talked about it. Like what you said, this is how that made me feel, or this is what I think about it. And much of this has come from our childhood, because we were taught as children shouldn't be seen and not heard. And so we don't speak up when we need to speak up and have these conversations. And then when we blurt something out, it's just so shameful that we have to go and repent. God, forgive me, because I got angry when we should have dealt with the issue the moment that it happened. And the other issue is, and I know I'm going from one point to another, but the other issue is that a lot of times when we aren't angry about something, it manifests, or when that anger manifests, it is not about the thing that's in front of us at the moment. It's about what happened 20 years ago or 10 years ago or something in the past. It may have not been with that man. It may have been with the ex-boyfriend. You know what I'm saying?
I think also, and Layla, yes, you did make a good point about conversation, confront versus confrontation. When people confront, they're usually looking for a fight, right? Naturally, because they're angry, they're upset. Yeah. So they're going in for, like, prepared for a battle. So I don't care what you're trying to discuss. When you come at somebody, even if they're wrong, and maybe they don't even know that they're wrong, sometimes we'll do things unintentionally, and they're just wrong to the other party, right? But they're right to us. So when the party comes at us and they're in a form of aggressive confrontation, usually confrontation is aggressive. Somebody's hurt, somebody's upset. That automatically, like, you take, all bets are off, right? If you're coming at somebody, so they're automatically going to defense mode. They can't even hear you at that point. They have no idea what's going on. They're just ready to.
It is so true. I have to chuckle at that, Regina, because they're not hearing you. So you blah, but they don't hear it. Go ahead.
Because the more you talk, the more defense they're building up to come at you, just giving them more ammunition to come. So it turns into I know we're streaming live. I'm trying to find a polite way. Well, you guys know what it turns into, but nothing good comes from it, right? So instead of one problem, now we have two issues. We have two fights. People are more upset. Then other people get involved because people start to talk about it. So nothing happens from it. I can only speak from my experience that I genuinely do not know if I've ever had any issues or arguments or debate where it didn't get resolved. And I'm looking back at why. I think because I'm not confrontational by nature, I look for a conversation, and I'll usually ask, you got upset, tell me how it made you feel. And I can honestly say, look, I don't understand because I'm not wired that way. But if you're telling me it made you feel this way, I can't really dispute it. I can't debate it. I'm not you. So let's talk about what. So I've learned that from the young age. So, but that has saved me a lot of chaos in my life. It really has. Plus, I don't like to really engage in chaos. It's just, I guess, the way I'm wired. But there's ways to resolve and negotiate everything if you simply come at the other person. First of all, assume they didn't even know that something happened, that they hurt your feelings. That does happen a lot of the time. Somebody will say something in passing, you're pissed off for the rest of their life, and they have no idea they offended you to begin with. But Layla is 100% correct. If you, it's just one little tweak, confrontation to conversation. So many relationships can be mended. Really, so many relationships. There's so many relationships in families that don't talk for decades on end, and the whole family's torn apart. And their grandparents said something to one another in passing like 50 billion years ago. Who cares? But nobody talks anymore because nobody discusses things in a calm fashion because we're emotional. Confrontation has a lot of emotion attached to it. The moment we become emotional, all sense and logic goes out the door. It's just how we are.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, and Satan wants us to be quiet. He wants for us to shut up. Bluntly, shut up, be quiet, sit down, don't say anything, because he knows how powerful words are. And if we say what God is saying and speak life into people, we will change them. We will cause a major shift. And like you're talking about, Regina, avoiding chaos is to speak truth and to help bring healing in that situation. Far too often, we have been trained to be victims. We take on the victim's mentality immediately. Why did they do that to me? How dare they text me that? Look at this text I got. And then we trade it, we share it with however many people, or we get it in a message in social media and we share it with so many people, and we perpetuate that poison, that toxin, that toxicity around into other people's lives so that they take on our emotions. We're upset, so they get upset, and then others get upset. Oh, I don't like Regina, so I'm going to unfriend her. And then we tell everybody else in our network, I unfriended her because she said whatever she said, and I didn't like that, and they move on. And they're justifying their behavior in their own minds and not realizing that they're a pawn of Satan at that moment, because they're living a life where they cannot be fulfilled anymore, because they're carrying all of this garbage that Layla was talking about, and they're exploding all over the place in other people's lives based on something that they thought was personal, and it wasn't even about them at all. Regina doesn't even know them, but it wasn't about them, but they carry this thing with them for years and years and years and years. And while we're here, and I'll take a pause here for a moment, please, people, please, ladies and gentlemen, if you got something to say, this thing that you text on, you can actually talk on it too.
Right, it works both ways.
You can actually, yeah, exactly. You can actually talk on this thing. Try it. Pick up the phone and call mama. Call daddy, call your brother, call your sister. Don't spend another year. Well, you may have to this year if it's still social distancing, but don't spend another year missing your mama's turkey and Thanksgiving dinner with family and friends because you are offended in something that happened 10 years ago. I want this show to be a show that you remember as a healing for you personally, for your family, for your relationships, that you will do what Layla has suggested, what Regina Sonia is suggesting. Let's open up and begin to talk. This is a talk show. We open up and we have conversations here, difficult conversations at times, because we know that some of the topics are not popular, and we don't always come on here smiling. Sometimes we come on here with tears in our eyes because we know we're dealing with lives, real lives, people that are really hurting. So I have a question for you folks that are watching right now. What are your anger issues? What are you frustrated about? Who are you frustrated with or at right now? Who's the target of your venom? And whatever your answer is, or whatever your answers are, it's time to do what Regina said. Do some self-assessment. What Sonia said, it's time for personal development. And for me, personal development is getting in the presence of God, because I don't know who I am without that. I don't know which way to go without the Holy Spirit leading, guiding, and directing me. I could make all the money in the world, but at the end of the day, if I'm still empty, I have nothing, absolutely nothing. My relationship with God is everything to me, absolutely everything. And believe me, when you decide that you want to live from a place of peace, you'll start having these conversations with people instead of texting nasty text, or instead of messaging nasty messages. You know what I mean? Being ugly, being mean. It takes so much energy to be angry. You ever notice that, ladies, if you've ever been angry in your life? I know you ladies have not, but let me tell you, I have. And maybe before the day is over, but I promise you, I'll get over it quickly. But anger rests in the bosom of a fool, is what the Bible says. But you know, whenever you feel that emotion is in your body, and it honestly affects your health. The longer you hold anger and anxiety and frustration and worry, it really does affect your health. And that's the first thing that you should examine. If you are physically ill, if you're feeling like you're losing your mind, and so many people are feeling that way right now, it's time to do a self-assessment. You know, let Regina talk to you. Let Layla, let Sonia talk to you about how you can move through these. I just feel it, ladies. So somebody move through this heaviness, move through this fog that you're in right now, because you're so worried and so bound with so many negative things coming at you at once. And you just happen to click over here today and you're looking for an answer because the topic, caring enough to confront, caught your attention. And Regina taught us about confronting yourself. Layla said, have this conversation with others and have conversations with yourself. Sonia said, don't be anxious about anything. It's time for us to grow up. This is a perfect storm, and it is a growing place. It really is.
I think, two things for me that actually help. Number one, as I always say, at least in business, you got to know the animal, right? Meaning if you're angry at somebody who is really doing their best, even if their best completely sucks, but that is their best because they haven't found a way for self-development, they haven't found their way to God, they may be giving you their actual best, and you're mad at somebody who can't do better. Like, I've mentioned in public so many times, so I don't mind saying it, like my ex-husband, my divorce, I'm not going to get into it at all, but people ask me, aren't you mad at him? I said, he did the best he could. That's his best, devastating the family. And that's how he's wired. That's his best. So why would I be angry at that? Mm-hmm. So if you're dealing with, so yes, I've 100% forgiven him because know the animal. I know the animal. Why hold on to that? That one is not even worth the discussion. But what I'm saying is, if you're angry at somebody, they cannot do better. I feel sadness for those people. I'm not even angry at them. I feel sadness for the fact that they live a broken, hurtful life, hurting themselves and others. Number one. Number two, when it comes to being upset at people, I gotta tell you, unless you think you walk on water, perhaps we can forgive a few people. I always remind myself that I don't walk on water. My hands are not clean. I'm not a perfect being. I ask for forgiveness, if not every hour, then every day for sure when I go to bed. So who am I not to forgive somebody else? And I'm talking about reasonable forgiveness, right? Or even all of it, like my ex-husband. Like, who am I to do that? So know the animal, and don't forget that we're forgiven. We make mistakes every single day, whether people watch you do them or not. We make them. And we're very quick to jump down somebody's throat saying you're a bad person. And we're not very quick to say, look, I messed up. I asked for forgiveness. And I think I'm going to give some grace to this other human being. So, I mean, that helps me at least that has helped me maintain a lot of relationships in my life versus blowing them up. So just personal experience.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
I think it's important to remember as well that when it comes to heightened conversations,
Mm-hmm.
we're actually in a really powerful position where we can diffuse the situation. Yeah, we can diffuse the energy.
Yeah.
And we do that by actually being the example. Yeah, and I really feel that the time, I know for sure that the time we're moving into is a time of real humanity, us looking into each other's eyes and really seeing a person and really feeling into that person's space, because we've not had that for such a long time. You know, we've been conditioned to, shh, don't tell anyone, don't talk about this, don't talk about that, judging and shaming how we're feeling or what we're going through. And it has led to so many of the problems that we're witnessing and experiencing out in the external world, you know. And I'm really, for weeks, obviously months, I've just been sitting with this, like, what is the solution to giving people the space to talk about whatever they need to talk about and to express how they feel? And so I feel that us individually choosing with that intention to be the example that someone's conversation or confrontation is safe. They can't hurt you because all they're doing is just expressing their world. That's all they're doing. Like, that's all I'm doing. I'm just expressing my world. That's what Regina's doing. That's what Sonia's doing. That's what Dr. Faye's doing. We're all just expressing our world. And we are worthy of experiencing, we are worthy of expressing where we're at, because that's where we're at, right? And so there are so many people in our lives who are old souls and young souls, and it doesn't even matter what age they are. You know, the experiences they're going through or what they're going through, and maybe they're actually having a really, really hard time. You know, for someone to not be able to express their anger in a safe space or in a safe way, like, it's got to the point where they have to burst. You know, they have to get it out. You know, and so it is up to us to be the example of the change that we want to see, because moving forward, we can't be moving into a time where children are being shamed and judged for expressing what they want to, or judging and shaming men for showing their emotions and feelings. And because we've already lived that time, and look up where we're at. You know, things have to change, and it's up to us.
So powerful, so powerful. We've already been there, done that, and it didn't work.
A mess. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. So it's time for a shift, a major shift. And the pandemic, as much as we don't want to talk about it, it is staring us in the face continuously. And it has brought a whole new plethora of problems, particularly mental and emotional, such just on every level, issues, and that have to be dealt with. And so some of the things that we thought were so important before have become less important now. And we're focusing on things that really bring healing now, really can bring freedom. The topics that we discuss here, ladies and gentlemen, is to help you to perhaps find answers. We're not claiming that we have all of the answers, but I can tell you that if you turn your life over to Jesus, you will have a greater life of peace. You will be able to hear differently, and you will find answers inside of yourself that you never dreamed that were there. And you will discover your own depth and your own greatness, even though it appears that life has sucked the life out of you, that when you just give your life to Him, you'll find the true life, the life of liberty, and that life which is more abundant. Every one of these women, my sisters and cohorts and co-hosts here, are all business women, women with a vision, women with an entrepreneur, co-creative spirit. And they're here to share their part of their story with you so that you too can learn that even in this situation, this experience that the world has experienced, that it is a perfect storm and you can arise from it. Layla brought up something earlier, and I pushed it to the side purposefully, is that what do you do when people confront you, or people come at you with some toxic reports, or just are angry with you or lash out, give you a good tongue lashing, how do you deal with that? I know Regina talked about, you can't, that's all her ex-husband had. And when you, Regina, that is so weighty, simple but weighty at the same time. When we look at people and say, you know what, they're doing the best they can.
Mm-hmm.
It diffuses it within us, doesn't it?
I didn't hear the question, Dr. Faye.
It diffuses it within us when when we look at what they're doing and saying to us that this is the best they have.
Well, think about this. So for me, like, English is the second language. This example just came to me, like, to make it simpler. If you come across somebody that doesn't speak English and you're trying to tell them something and they're saying, well, and you understand they don't speak the language, you're not going to be yelling and screaming at them that they speak a different language than you, right? You're not going to bash them and tell them you're a bad human being. They don't speak the same language as you. It's the same thing, really, you guys. Like, it's not rocket science. They don't speak the same language as you.
Right.
Like, my husband and I spoke completely different languages because we understood life differently, and the bottom line. So don't get mad at people who are giving you the best they can, because at the end of the day, they go about life just fine. You're the one living with it.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to bed, I promise you. Like, he goes to sleep like a baby. He couldn't care less the stuff he's done. So why would I be upset about that? So let people be themselves. If they don't want to change, really, there is a God and you're not it. Like, I remind myself of that as well. Mm-hmm. Right? But we also can't fight every fight. But there are people that want to fight every battle, and if that's the way you live your life, I encourage you just to examine, just for yourself. You don't have to tell anybody, but are you liking the way you're living? It's heavy. It's poisonous. It's chaotic. It's like, don't you want to be happy? People ask me, the biggest complaint I always got from anybody I ever dated is that it's hard to pick a fight with me. Like, men complain that it's hard to pick a fight with me. I'm like, I don't want to argue. Like, why? Like, I don't want to argue. I really don't. That's the biggest complaint I get. I don't want to fight. What's the point? Mm-hmm. So I can live with that for the next few days, few weeks, few months. No, I don't want to. So you really do get to decide what you get to live with. Yeah. You really, really, really do. And if you have people that are toxic in your life, well, you're responsible for your life. Don't have them in your life. Really, friends. I mean, it is that simple.
It's boundaries, isn't it? It's like knowing how we want to be treated and knowing how we're willing to treat others as well. And when it comes to like arguments, confrontation, all of that, really what you were just saying there, Regina, what resonated for me was that it's the ego that wants to fight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the ego that wants to fight and that wants to butt heads and do this and that friction, because it's the hurt inner child, and there's so many layers to the ego anyhow, but it's that ego wants to fight. And when you come from your heart and soul space, and when you remember that God's with you, you come back into this space of, I don't want to argue. I don't need to argue with you. I don't need like you to take me into a place where I'm going to react in a way that doesn't feel healthy, that feels toxic, that's going to be like this. There was an argument that I had last year or the year before with a family member. I won't say who, but this person went to attack me, right, verbally, and I'm not the one that starts an argument. I will always be the one that's on the defense, right? And so because I'm always in that space, like Regina was saying, like, I'm not going to argue with you. I don't want to argue with you. You notice when somebody else comes to you, you're just like, okay, it's not in my decision-making to start an argument, but you're starting something. So I'm now on the defense, right? And this conversation, it was built up of resentment from a long time. And it got really uncomfortable to the point where there was physical pushing and shoving and everything, right? And it just really reminded me that no matter how much work we've done to create healthy conversations, someone can very easily trigger that if we let them and if we allow them. And so we've got to have the strategies in place around our boundaries, right? So one of my rules is, if you're going to have that kind of conversation, I'm going to walk away. I'm leaving this situation. I'm walking away. That might follow. If I need to find a lock the door, just let it be outside. You know. But you've got to have those boundaries, and that is why confrontation has to become a conversation, right? Where you get to say, I'm walking away, or I'm not expecting to be spoken to like this. I expect you to speak to me with respect. If you have something to say, why don't you take some time out or cool down? I mean, when people are angry, they don't really want to be told what to do. So, you know, so it's like there's all these strategies, and that's really important to know that you're allowed to have boundaries around your space. Right. You must have, because this is it's paramount, because if you don't, others will just try and take over.
Absolutely, and they will, because we teach people how to treat us. Yes. We set the rules. We're always setting the rules, consciously or subconsciously. We are always setting the rules on how people treat us and how they respond to us. Sonia mentioned something on another show about her relationship with her husband, and we're transparent here, folks. We talk about everything. But you mentioned something, Sonia, about communication, that you had stopped communicating. And now, over time, you learn how to sit down and have these conversations. And that you're still working on it. It's just, well, aren't we all? Aren't we all, though? Progress. But I just felt in my spirit that, if you don't mind, Sonia, just revisiting that point for someone who's listening right now, who is in that situation and does not know how to bridge the gap with their husband or their wife, and to sit down and have these tough talks.
Yeah. And you guys are all talking, I'm going, it all goes back to what we've talked about before, a choice, choices, having a choice. So you're choosing, because my husband and I have been together 31 years. And during everything, the pandemic, we were forced to be in the home together a little bit more than the norm. And so we just really realized it was something we both were aware of, but you didn't want to confront it. There's that word again. We didn't want to have a conversation about it. And it just came down. I just was praying about it. And, you know, you're seeking other sources, but God is your source. And he's already told me what to do, but I haven't been obedient to do it. Right. So through the course, we had a conversation, and we were not blaming one another. Isn't that funny how sometimes you think if you have that conversation, somebody's going to be wrong, right? You want to put the blame on. So we just opened up, had a conversation. Now, this was months ago, probably 3 months ago, that we just really came and came to a common ground and said, look, you're not wrong. I'm not wrong. Let's be in this together. And work it out together. But there has to be, agreement in that, whoever it's between. Yeah, exactly. That you're not going to place, the judgment or the shame, the blame on either person, but realize there's been a breakdown in conversation, which even with we're talking about our families, facing those issues, it can be with anybody. It doesn't even have to be with your spouse, but it's just, let's admit that a lot of it starts with you, because you know what? We're talking about when others confront you, Dr. Faye. Oh, when others, say something about you, oh, I know me. I can feel my ears like burn. I'm like, oh, no, they didn't. Really? Like, not me, right? And so even with my husband, it was that way. Oh, really? Yeah. But it's like, it was a place where I was ready to receive, right? Ready to receive what had to be said and, said. And whether I was going to take that and really like be in all me and my emotions and flesh, or I was going to receive it and say, okay, Sonia, how can you use this? What's going on? Because we knew it's real, and we know it's still real. Right. Right. And just not avoid it, but deal with it. That's the greatest thing, is deal with it. Because you guys have already said it. You're just going to stay in what you're already in. You're not going to, there's no growth. There's not going to be an explosion in everything else around you. Things in your life cannot change until you change. But it all starts with a choice, a decision.
From within, because the reality is we all have one common enemy, and that's Satan, and it's not each other. It's not each other. That's the lie that Satan wants us to believe, that Layla doesn't like me, or this kind of thing that's going on. And he sows these seeds in our minds, and convinces us that it's the other person. But when we come from a place of love, and Layla, I'm telling you, she's a love expert. And I don't mean that kind of love lust. I'm talking about from the heart level. When we come from a place of love and we begin to move in that and live from that place, whatever is in front of us is swallowed up by that love. That's what Regina has been coming from. That's why she said, I don't like confrontation, because love covers a multitude of sins. Love, perfect love, casts out fear, anxiety, worry, distress, and every other devil that would ever come up against you. And regardless of where you are and where you come from today, there is healing in those waters called love. There's a healing for you in your relationship. There's a healing for you and your family to get to the next level that God has called you to be. You cannot stay stuck. You can't. There's too much inside of you that's pushing you to your own greatness. They're pushing you to your next level. And you tuned in today because there's an assignment on your life to get you out of where you've been, so that you don't allow these worries and the little petty stuff that comes up. And it is petty many times. You know, if it's a family member, why did you, I don't know what it would be, but just stuff that doesn't make any sense to you now when you stop for a moment and think about it. See if we can come to the place to have these conversations with our family members. We start with our family members and friends. We started a group inside of social media called Safe Space for this very reason, for people to, because we have an offline mentoring and coaching business as well. But we started this online so people will know you got to have a safe space that you can be transparent. Let people see your heart. It's okay to let someone see your heart. You don't have to protect it from everybody. You know what true freedom is? To be able to say what you need to say, when you need to say it, to whom you need to say it to, and continue to live your life. Ladies, we're approaching, according to our junior producer over there, Sterling Chanel, we're approaching the end of our show today. But before we do that, I know you all have so much going on, and I see all of your work across social media, as do so many others. But I would like, before we do in our show today, that you all would take the opportunity to update us on your whereabouts and what you're doing. And I know that it's great, and explosions are happening all over the place, because I'm telling you folks, we are in the greatest moment in history. And there is a massive wealth transfer going on right now. Yep. And we want you to be in tune with that, in tune with God, so that you don't miss this moment. Who's first, Regina?
Oh, so what do I have going on? Really quickly, just to finish the conversation, because it's been kind of on my heart. So I want to say, I think at the end of the day, when it comes to confrontation, what's worked for me as well is I ask myself, who am I? Meaning my response is a direct reflection of who I am, regardless of how somebody else is acting. Mm-hmm. And that, by the way, has saved me a lot of chaos ultimately, and has really helped me keep my mouth shut when I didn't feel like it. Mm-hmm. Asking myself, who am I? How do I want to come out of this? Will I be proud of myself at the end of it, regardless of the other human being? Mm-hmm. So hopefully this will serve you well. In terms of what I'm doing, life and business strategist, 18 years of expertise. I always have one-on-one spaces open. I do one-on-one work, and I have them available as clients fall off. Then I'll open space for new ones. I have 2 coaching live group programs coming up right now. They're actually available as a bundle for almost $1,000 off if you buy them as a bundle. One is Mindset Reset. It is a 4-week live intensive with 6 live calls. The 4 of them are heavily focused on selling, setting your mindset to be profitable online, selling with ease, selling with confidence, attracting your ideal audience. So if you're an online business, this is absolutely for you. 2 strategy sessions for businesses are included. And then as soon as that's over, we're going into, in end of September, into a 6-week live group coaching, all about creating multiple offers. So you have an offer suite so people can enter and buy from you at different price points. So 6 weeks we're heavily focused on that, peer-to-peer community, private Facebook community, peer-to-peer support, daily accountability. So there's a lot of it. So if you get into them separately, they're I think $2,500 as a bundle. I made them $1,600 right now. So that's available. And you can find me just through my name, through social media, Regina Gubinas.
Excellent. Awesome. Sonia?
Wow, Regina. What I'm doing, I specialize in anti-aging, just meaning the next second you're going to be older. But these are all holistic for your skin, right? It's true. Wellness and hair. And I really believe in providing options to people, letting people choose. And so we specialize in that, and it's very targeted, multifunctional. And so this is in 12 countries, so I'm online, and just continue to work with people and just help them develop, be who they were created to be. And that's what I've really been busy doing. I'm also in the leadership in a gym, and I have been so blessed to help so many people see the transformation in their lives, in their health, and with wellness. So it all connects all together, just creating who they were meant to be. And so I'm just really working on that, and just wherever I'm needed, I'm out there doing it.
Yeah, you are. Beautiful. Thank you so much for being out there doing it.
Thank you.
Layla?
So I help soul-driven entrepreneurs and ambitious entrepreneurs to manifest income and impact with ease. And we work on lots of different things: mindset, energy work, really connecting to one's higher self, best kind of deepest version, and transforming limiting beliefs and overcoming fears and so on. So I teach in a number of different ways. One-to-one work for those that really want to dig deep and do that specific, have that specific container. And I also have a number of different digital courses and masterclasses, which I love. So at the moment, in relation to the conversation we've had today, if anyone's interested, Become Your Own Life Coach masterclass is absolutely ideal. It's about three-hour masterclass where we actually dig deep into helping you let go of the old, release the old with respect and with grace and with love, and then manifest the version of you that you want to step into as well. It's really, really powerful masterclass. And then the other one is Fearless Business Success the Feminine Way, which is my business course. And I teach you how to manifest your ideal customers and clients with ease, and really to bring heart and soul into your business, because I think that's been the missing link. And I just love bringing this holistic energy into everything that we do. So head on over to my website, which is laylakhanauthor.com for details, or send me a message. And we'll get
let's see your book again, Layla.
Oh, yeah.
check out her book, 101 Plus Ways to Overcome Life's Biggest Obstacles. Now, listen, go ahead and get a copy of her book today. It's been used in Hollywood. Right? Ellen DeGeneres and
so it was gifted to Ellen DeGeneres and 50 celebrities during the Oscar Awards as well. And it's crazy because I was in Scotland and I manifested this incredible opportunity and all the way in Hollywood, and I was like, wow, man, there's some power. So I'm like, God's work.
Yeah, that's our God. That's how he does it. And along with all of the other things that you see me do across social media, including building NCTN, I am an empowerment coach, and God has given me this over the years in this Christian-based mentoring and coaching program that I also have for one-on-one. And you can access that by sending me a private message. And I also want to thank all of you who have been tuning in to our 7-day experience, Wealth Transfer Boot Camp. And tomorrow morning, if you're listening to this and still in August, this Saturday morning is 10 a.m. We will do day 7 of that boot camp. It is absolutely amazing, the revelation knowledge that God is pouring out on this wealth transfer experience, this wealth transfer boot camp in the 7-day experience. Join me on the Empowered Leaders community. It will be a blessing to you, and you can get some highlights there. Take note of my co-host and the amazing things that they're doing. I hang out with some good people. I hang out with some movers and shakers, some people who are doing some amazing things. And it is my prayer that you will connect with people that God has assigned to your life that will help you to elevate into the next level of God's dimension. He doesn't want you to stay at the foot of the mountain. He's called you to higher heights. And we bring topics to help push you there, to be midwives, if you will, to help you be pushed to your next level of mastery, whatever that may be. You are greater than the storms you've been through. You are greater than all the trials that you've ever encountered, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Once again, thanks to my co-hosts, Regina Gobinas, Layla Khan, Sonia Williams, and I am yours truly, Dr. Faye. And you have been listening to another amazing Lighten Up. It's time to talk. And we'll see you next time. Kisses and hugs, virtual kisses and hugs. Stay safe, everybody, and wear your mask. Bye-bye now.